Welcome to Insightful Journeys, a podcast that explores the remarkable stories of individuals who are shaping the world around us. I'm your host, and I'm excited to introduce our guest today, Tukela Mtembu. Tukela's journey is a testament to the power of resilience, determination, and community. From living behind the corporate world to start a business in his rural hometown of Ntlaza, Tukela's story is one of courage, adaptability, and heart. Through his garage, Tukela has not only built a successful business, but has also created a hub of community connection and support. His commitment to giving back and making a positive impact is truly inspiring. In this episode, we'll delve into Tukela's journey, exploring the lessons he's learned, the challenges he's overcome, and the values that drive him. We'll also discuss his thoughts on leadership, community development, and the importance of living a life of purpose. So sit back, relax, and join us on this insightful journey with Tukela Mtembu. Good day.
Okay.
Welcome to Insightful Journeys. Hey, good day,
Can't tolakala.
Can't tolakala, but where we know, Tux, that you are not an idling person. You are busy. You are a dad to Umnombo. You are also an entrepreneur. But before Mtombo, before business, can you take us back to your childhood in Transkei, growing up?
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for having me, guys. It's quite a lovely opportunity to sit here with you guys. Born in the Transkei. I'm over 40, so I won't tell you when. Born in the Transkei, raised between Ntlaza and Port St. John's. My parents were ex-teachers. My father was a teacher at Ntlaza Primary. My mother was a teacher at Mafini. So obviously I was around Ntlaza as a child, and at some point they'd gone into farming, which was on the Port St. John side. So we were between those two places, and growing up then moved to East London later in the years to study high school. So in a nutshell, that was me. I think in the Transkei at that time, there's nothing much to share because we were young, and obviously you were between two places where your parents were working. So there was no specific sitting in an area, but my parents were in business, obviously, between these two places that I was growing up in. So I grew up in an environment in the Transkei where there was business at the back of whatever was happening, but obviously the parents now did have a teaching background, so I was in between those places.
Okay, so you were socialized in a business and education environment.
Yes.
And then tell me then, what values did your upbringing instill in you?
Keith, I am the 8th child, the last born. A good thing and a bad thing at the same time. But being a last born gave me different values from what my elder siblings had. Because my father had me in his 50s. So the principles were very, very different. I grew up with the values of so much respect because by that time that I was born, my father was already holding a status in the community. He was already obviously involved in a lot of things. So a lot of principles worked around me. For instance, when I was a child, I remember I used to travel with my dad to a Magwa tea factory. And everyone would ask, Dadum Tem, is this your grandson? You know, and now grandkids, obviously, they always get the best love from the grandparents. So the opportunity of growing up at that time, and a lot of things were enforced on me. So I got to take care of my father in his late years. I got to be involved in quite a lot of spiritual things from a church point, from a community point. So all those values that came from Elalini, then were involved because so I got all those values ke zofundiswa imbeko, zofundiswa umuntu, zothobeka, zothini. But obviously ke at a young age I was born zonke izinto wenziba kusithwa yenza ndizibona ngosendimdala, but they helped me. They shaped me. They made me the man that I am today.
Yes, and then, of course, you grew up, you went to school, and off you went to Johannesburg, you joined corporate there, and then, but before you came, can you take us through your experience in the corporate Johannesburg?
Before I go into corporate, Bakrit, I just want to pass Glenn down.
Sure.
After leaving the Transkei, I think I was doing something at 6. My father always had this thing athi xa sihleli phaa ekhaya athi hey ndiyafuna umntana okhumshayo apha yabona le nto usebenzile ukhulisa abantwana ndifuna umntana ozothetha isilungu ndifuna umntana ozabazethini ndifuna so through that I got the opportunity to go to East London and go to a multiracial school.
Okay.
My brother, who I come after, went to Zingisa Comprehensive High School in Ntlaza. So already from Mount Nicholas, my mind was, I'm going to Zingisa or I'm going to Holy Cross. But my dad had other plans. And the reason I'm sharing this is it's where my life changed and where it all started. Got to Commercial Park. Obviously, nsuku ezilalini isingesi andisazi ndandifunda ekhohlo eluPhaphasi seluPhaphasi and umkhumshenani was good morning qha. Now I get to the school, and when you get to the school ufika phaa you stand like a sore thumb. But through that and through a background I decided to throw myself into the deep end, swim with the sharks, present myself to the school. And I'm not shy to tell you that in my first report, when I came home, my dad said, you see, your report is telling that there's a lot of potential. Remember, I came from parents that had a teaching background. So your report is scrutinized. So through those challenges, oba utshintsha isikolo uye ebalungwini ufika apha yonke into sinxiba ibhesha understanding kwalo mnqwazi wengca ndizowuthwala, I then got to be a prefect at school. I then got to be a class leader. I then, in 1997, I was appointed to be a junior mayor. I mean, a junior town councillor in the junior mayorship of East London at that time. And those things started to tell me that you can come from a rural background. You can come from nowhere. But if you put it into your head, remember, utata mdala. I can safely tell you my dad was born in 1930. So at that time, I was already old. So he even used to say when he dropped me at school, I have a failing child, you know. So those things built me, gave me a lot of confidence. They gave me a lot of self-finding, you know. And then from there, I knew my deal was that I'm going to go to PE. Funde Varsity College. I don't want to be far from home because since this way East London, sending Lomdano Shue boarding school. I remember my elder brother, whom I come after, Kabebeyon Becker, number 49, Moore Street, Equigny, in 1995. Wati, so I was coming from that background, man. So Aline, you know. But then Tukela, at that time, I figured Osna. Lesingesi, so wabutatam ngena enforcer and please uzimisele. So I got that, and those things helped me to look at the bigger picture. Then I remember when I was doing standard 9, I said to my parents, I want to go to Joburg. My dad said, okay, pasa kahle. And then boom, after Commercial Park, with all of those things, from serving the junior council, serving in a lot of other things, I was in the interactive committees and all of that. I gained a lot of me came out. And the me that came out was ready for the bigger world. So I went to Johannesburg, studied at Pretoria, and at that time I was very passionate about the food service industry. So I was in that space in mind. Got there, went to Pretoria, studied, done with my studies in Pretoria, went to Johannesburg, boom, started working. So I don't want to leave out the part of going to East London because it's the one that made me say, man,
that was a turning point.
That was a turning point because the parents had cracked that point start looking into the bigger picture. So that's how I ended up in Joburg. And that's how I ended up. So my higher education and my university, obviously, Zandinceda and the Sagla direction, and then that's how I got into corporate.
And then you were in corporate. I just want you to share your experience and your moments in that space before you transitioned to the Eastern Cape, having your own business.
Stayed in corporate for 9 years. Loved every minute of it. Best thing that's ever happened to me was to go into corporate.
Sure.
I'll repeat. Best thing that's ever happened to me was to go into corporate. Stayed in corporate for 9 years. Had a manager. His name was Kagiso Shuping. I remember very well. He went to Mount Nicholas. Because I remember when he looked at my CV and interviewer, I'm going to make an example of my last job because that's why I stayed for 9 years. Sure. The rest of the other ones I won't count. And he said to me, oh, so get Transkei, yes, I can see you went to Mount Nicholas. Am I Roman? Because it was a Roman Catholic school. And I said, yes. And he said, okay, I hope you're going to do wonders if we appoint you. And they appointed me. And on the condition that I must do wonders. Sure. Now, the beauty about this, God works in mysterious ways. After a month in the Galile, I was handling Pretoria. I was the regional manager for Pretoria. So my boss called me and said, there's an opportunity over East London, Eastern Cape, actually. And you're not going to move to the Eastern Cape. You're going to be based here, but you're going to service the Eastern Cape. Do you want to take on that portfolio? Now, when you come from Emakaya, unalandi bugawati hi, this opportunity. So I said, okay. Took the opportunity, and that's how I then got back to the Eastern Cape, but still in the corporate, still based in Joburg. But now I was visiting more. Yes. I was seeing opportunities. I was seeing challenges, but in the Segway corporate at that time. And somewhere in the journey of my corporate move, I realized, well, no, man, I want to go back. My wanting to go back was also influenced by the fact that my parents had been in business. And my parents being in business, I make an example like this so you understand what I was going through in my heart. You know, when a light is about to, or when a bulb is about to fuse, it does this.
Yes.
It's At that time, I had a feeling that my father and my mother's legacy and all the work that they'd done, not just from a business point, because even when they were still teaching, they were very involved in the community, was doing this. And I could either watch it, or I could either go and change the bulb. You know, these days they use LED. I always make an example at home. 2D, LED. I needed to change and put on a new cassette. And then play a different tune to make sure the continuity of my parents' legacy was happening. So, in a nutshell, that's how it came about. Now you'll ask me a question and say, what influenced me to even go into the space that I'm in? Which is a question that a lot of guys would ask me. One Sunday, I'm home. I'm still working for clientele. My car was a Toyota Yaris. It was black, branded IFA. And I'm leaving on Sunday, going back to East London, because I'm going to leave the car here and then fly to Joburg. So then my mother goes to church. Obviously, she's gone to church. I'm going to leave. Boom, I am out of petrol. I phoned my mother at church to say, unai 5 liter, because I need to get to town. And the car, Yomsebenzi, does not have fuel. She says, no, I'll only be home at this time. So maybe ask so-and-so who's one of my friends. So this friend came, helped me. We drove to Mtlaza. This is like 30, 40 kilometers. We're going to buy 5 liter of fuel. This friend of mine, childhood friend, a friend that is based in Ntlaza, then says to me, there used to be a garage here in BP. What happened? I don't know the story. Maybe because you are suffering. You're the one that's suffering.
Wow.
I left. Got my 5 liter. I'm a Joburg boy.
You
know, got the 5 liter, into the Yaris, got to town. There was a BP up a Stekas Triangle at that time. Got there, filled up my car, left. Forgot what he said. Then one day I get a call from my elder brother who says, there's a Greek guy that wants a meeting. He's interested to establish a service station where we are. But I said to him, before I go forth, because I told my brother this story, you made mention of the fact that one day you'd want to go back. And from that call that my brother made, from that experience that I'd had, I said to him, let me just give it some time. I'll look into it. Great stuff. Looked into it, and through that, a business of a service station was born. And also, the nice part was I was still in corporate. Now I was torn between Lendon Dienza and Daytand. I don't do things that I don't like. I'm sorry. I don't care what they will bring. I just don't want to sit in something where my heart is not in.
Yeah.
Because mna ndifuna into xa ndiyenza uyibone kwalapha kum, you know. So in that space, then the garage idea was born. And I then started to investigate.
Yeah.
But now I'm still in corporate. And I remember I started in 2012. I remember that year of 2011. Yes, that year. Oh, before I say that, in 2009, my boss then suggested that I move to Eastern Cape. Why? He says, you need to get closer to the clients. I was like, okay, kudos. But on condition, boss, I moved to East London. Not to Ntlaza, Coxstead, Sydney, or wherever. But let's face it, because it was more central. I think also through that, I started to see the garages that were here and what was happening, and I got interested, got to ask, and then I started doing the small work. But obviously, at that time, I had a full-time job because I needed security. And I then visited my boss 3 months before I resigned. There was a strategy session, and then I had an Indian boss. And I always share this story because sometimes people, when they listen to me sharing this part that I'm going to share, they think it's a negative thing. You know, your strength can be a weakness, most. So we're sitting in the strategy session, and we're going on and on and on. And remember, I'm passionate about what I do. So Eastern Cape was my area, and it was the third producing province. It was Gauteng, KZN, and then Eastern Cape. Then I put a point across. Then my Indian boss, Aikabe. And my boss does not understand that I drive from East London to Lusikisiki to go see a client and come back. So it was quite a strenuous job, but I was passionate about it. Then I say to him, unfortunately, what I've put there affects. And then he says to me, Tukela, please, can we move on? But we can't move on. We're talking about my province. And then he says, if you are so clever, why don't you go back there by your father's shop there in the Lala? I hear your father at shops there. Maybe that's why you've got an attitude. Do you know what that guy did? Do you know what that man did for me? He gave me a light bulb moment to say, yes, I've spent 9 years here. I've been making a difference in people's lives. Yes, my father did have an old shop, Namazinki. No, he was right. I need to go back and take Lamazinki off and put tiles. Okay? And then it was time for appraisals. Did my appraisal, went very well. Even got a promotion. But my promotion was in June. In July 1st, I served my notice to my boss. But because of my passion, I said to him, I'd like to serve a 2 months notice so that the people of the Eastern Cape can know that I didn't disappear. And in that, I served my 2 months notice. And in 2012, February the 22nd, I opened my garage. Now, what am I saying when I say your strength can be a weakness? Uboswam didn't offend me. He actually pushed me to the right direction, and that's how I got into that space. So I used all that energy that came from that, I don't want to call it negative, but that statement that he had made, I used all of that energy to found what I have today and what is of today. Where my boss said, why don't, if you are so clever, and really, I was clever in my own, but maybe I was spending it kwamlungu rather than spending it kwabawo.
Is he still alive?
He is alive. So he has visited me, and we do talk, and I do tell him that when you said it, I thought you were the cruel man ending. When I don't manage, I was like that. But after 3-4 years of running my business, I picked up the phone to say, because had you not said that, had you not put unbrike, I wouldn't have thought that far. So that's how the business came through. Then obviously there was a need. I didn't just open the business because my friend had said that. I'd already done the needs analysis to check what's needed, what can I do, but also as difficult as it is to get into the industry.
Yes, so I was about to ask that. Was it easy to get into it? Did it come Like
On a silver plate?
On a silver platter?
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
In my office, I have a book. That book is an A4 Crooksley book. I remember for 2011, ndabhala date, ndabhala what I want to do, ndabhala the service stations I wanted to approach. Nayo, I didn't write it.
Okay.
Yes, the service station that I'm with, I didn't write them down. I was very ambitious. I wanted D because I'd seen the beautiful colors and the aesthetics of all of these businesses as industries. But I thought to myself, no, man, let me write this down so that I can always go back. And in that, because it was difficult, I then came across Mr. Clive Berlin. I mention him everywhere I go because I remember that man again. When I met him, he said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" That came na ewe. Wathi, he used to work for TDC, which was called Ntlaza Development Corporation in the then days. He said, "I know your old man." Yes, I worked with your old man, but he was a client of Ntlaza Development Corporation. I said, "Okay, wow." And he said, he gave me his work ethic, how he did things, how he liked to do things. So when he gave me this opportunity, he wanted me to run with it. And boom, I ran with it. But it was difficult. It took me 2 years to get my things in a row, to get my ducks in a row, from application to finding finance, to understanding the fact that I needed to go back to school. Because a lot of us, when we go to business, we say, I'm good at this.
Yeah.
You see, when people see me talking about a service station, they always say, Tukela Baba Nela. No, I had to go to a 6-month course, sit in class every day and attend. Yeah. And then, obviously, they were trying to train me so that I could know exactly what I was going to do. So it was not an easy ride, but through those turns, I managed to make it because I wanted that business.
So now you brought this untapped business in that space of Ntlaza, the rural Ntlaza.
Yes.
How was it accepted by the community?
First and foremost, let me not shy away from the fact that I went to all of those companies I jotted down. I'm not going to mention them. Yeah. I went to all of them. I remember one guy in PE, and I believe he now works for Caltex. We drove to PE. I drove with my mother. Yeah. Because I said, when was a Ntlaza, I'll drive.
Oh, the material.
Yeah. Because at that time, when life happens, it reminds you that you need to go to basics. Yeah. So I said to her, I don't want friends on this trip. I don't want anyone in Cap. We drove to PE. Again, my mother coming from the old regime, she had a hat on, she was dressed for this meeting. Too overdressed. But we got there, attended the meeting. The gentleman was sitting, where's us tulo zichigelezayo? What chigele situlo sakakabini? What in Ntlaza? Oh no, man. Who would go and stand there? Ntlaza, it's too far. No. That's me bulb. Bulb went off. Remember, my father's legacy was doing this. Yeah. The bulb went off.
Now they're deflating you.
Yes. That time, who to escort me? My mother. Best thing I ever did for myself, because on the way back, she started to share with me their own challenges, how they started business, how they used to sell vegetables from Imvawe truck. Aqabi calamine bahlale ngabasparks basuke baye lokishini bawumisa ngakwankohla baphathi loudspeaker utata bamathanga umbona ntonto. She shared all of those things, and she said, we did that because we wanted to make sure that we raise abantwana bethu sibe ne future for abantwana bethu. So that journey back brought my light a little bit back. Good and well. I then went to the guys that were on the property, which were the petroleum company that was on the property. The gentleman that I saw there knew my father from the then days. So I went to see him, and I was confident in this one, but let me just talk to these guys and not change the brand. Yeah. Again, he looked at me and said, oh, Ntlaza. That place is a dump, man. Ntlaza was a very big... No. Again, bam. Again, bam. And the reason I'm sharing this is because I want people to understand. This is our theme, his man. God, because at the end of the day, that is the journey. Then I got into a relationship with Caltex. got to meet Clive Berlin and the rest of the other guys that were there. And he didn't say any such. He just said, we can come and visit the site. Came, visited the site. They helped me, like they have helped other retailers, like they continue to do. They helped me walk the journey with me, guided me.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in today's business, one can guide you, but one is also looking to put themselves into the picture, or one wants to share into the pot. So they guided me, and then I started. So what was beautiful for me was the fact that I wanted to make sure that it's properly structured.
Yeah.
Now, the garage starting, I must go back to my community, which was what was your question. I must go back to my community. Now, sithi siXhosa, iqhela linyange kokwalo.
Yes.
Number 2, I'm the 8th child. Ne? Now, kufika untondo walapha saying he's going to start a business. They'll look at you and think, okay, and then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And wena, you. The negative energy fuels my progress in life.
Yeah.
Because I found that if ungamamela yonke into, you'd be discouraged. But one of the things I took, I went to visit the late Nkosi Matobela. When I was 32 years, not 30. And he gave me a story. My father was a teacher. Then utata my teacher mission. Then wafuna bakwakhiwe a proper school. So him as the chief. You met his son, Ungos Jongsap, when we were there for the pharmacy opening. Him as the chief went to see Chief George. Kwakuseko ex-G walk. And he said, and I've actually got this on video. I posted it the other day. And he said, Chief George, Mtembu, uteacher pa emission esen Barnabas. Uteacher uncedisana nesibhedlele. And khalele ba ahambe apha Ntlaza. So what I think we should do, the concept as an eye of building in Ntlaza Junior Primary, that's there today.
Yes.
The khalele into ba usimakhele indawo sakhelo isikolo. And through that, Ntlaza Primary, Ntlaza Lower Primary was born. Utata my principal yakhona. So when Matobela shared that with me, he gave an insight that your father was a teacher. He could have said, man, or wherever. But he didn't want to leave as well. So he got involved in making sure there was a school, there was this happening. So in that space, I got to learn that my parents were very involved in this community. And not just involved from a point of give, but from a point of development, from a point of involvement. And me, that time, I'm starting a garage. Then Department of Energy says to me, you need to give us a traffic count. What do you mean? You need to count the cars that drive on that road. We need to know day and night. We need to know how many cars on a Monday, how many cars on a Wednesday, how many cars on a Friday. Immediately when they ask, yes, we need to know traffic count. In the then days, Brakith, it was literally count. So technology wasn't there of that nature. So I have to do traffic count. So I'm sitting there the other day, Sibala Imod, with a guy by the name of Umapanyaza. He worked for my parents for years. So uhleli pha uyancedisa, tsemane kudlule iAvanza, dibale +1, kudlule ivan ye delivery, kudlule ambulance, kudlule ntoni, but you could see into man. Lento ndiyenza apha, a waste of my time this. So what do I need to do? I need to just let this thing go. Sitting there, feeling like that. Abantwana besikolo esezantsi kwalapha ekhaya bayacrossa indlela. Njengoba becrossa bafike babuza, wenza ntoni bhuti? Ndithi hayi ndibala imoto. Bathi hayi masihlale sokubalisa. Bahlala abantwana. Nansenye. So it becomes
To them it was fun.
Yes. So now in the morning, bandibona ndihleli pha. Nansenye ndithi hayi ndizoba late esikolweni. Behlala esikolweni. Xa bebuya, they stay there. Bandihlalisa. But through that, Rakith man, ndayendithamba. You know, I want to do this. But boom, yavula garage. First year of my garage. First year, ndivule ngoFebruary. NgoJune, ndaya kwesa sikolo. Ndathi kuprincipal, umoya wami awukho right. These kids helped me. And these kids will forget this one day. And mna andingomntu olibalayo. I'd like to offer something. Like what, Butux? Like what? Data ndiyazi. I'll think of it, but I'd like to do something. And didn't say it's June. Time flies, we get into December. February, the following year, on our anniversary, I drove to East London, went to King On's. I'd already gotten a list, but there's 127 kids. Got to King On, bought 127 tunics.
Wow.
127 school uniform, boys and girls, and then shoes. To show you, Pakith, Lando Nandi intentional ngayo. I remember telling them, each child must come with makafika fumani pack yake ingu size 4. And size 4. So each child had this. Then the spreadsheet, so we cooperate. Man, learn about coffee computer. Then the spreadsheet, okay, Keith, yes, size 8, 42 shirt, 32 pants. So I did that and then started my first community giving back opportunity, giving back.
Yeah.
Community loved it. But now, what was said at the time, then the other school came, then the other school came, then the other school. So I needed to structure myself of how I get into the community. But then from a business point as well, these kids had no cars. Their parents had no cars. So I didn't do this because they would go fill up by my station. Because sometimes when you help Unalanditi, it will come back. But for me, that given me an opportunity of getting the car statistics given to Department of Energy for me to get the license. So through that, the opportunity of community involvement got involved. We've done a lot of projects. If I can just summarize, we got involved in establishing libraries for local schools around Ntlaza. We got involved with scholars at Nqeleni. We got involved with scholars at Port St. John's. Again, it took me back because I was between Ntlaza and Port St. John's as a child. So this opportunity of community involvement was taking me back to the places. And through going back there, there was a lot of emotion. I'm a very emotional person. That's why I said I don't do what I don't like. So going back there, I would drive to Emajola. To that school, I went to Difundo Sub A, and it just got to sit and resonate with me, Landiti. This is what I should be doing. Since then, I've been doing community involvement work.
Okay. We're still chatting to Tukela Mtembu, an entrepreneur from Ntlaza. Ntlaza iphakathi kweMthatha kunye nePort St. John's. Must start in just 30 seconds. Sizoqhuba kwakhona noTux. All right, we're still watching Insightful Journeys, and we're chatting to Tukela Mtembu. Tux, I understand that you gave tenancy permission to a young woman to open a pharmacy next to your garage. Can you tell us more about that decision and, of course, its impact?
As the business was continuing its journey, we needed to sit down as the business. When I say we, one would then ask, who's we? It's me and the business.
Sure.
It's me and the business. We needed to sit down and say, okay, we now have a service station. We're now pumping. When I say pumping, it's not like we're pumping big numbers, but we're now doing what we came to do.
Sure.
We then needed to establish ukuthi xa ungumuntu mos unyuka iziteps. Your age grows most. So we needed to sit down and say, what else can we bring here? I call them differentiators. And part of that was to look at what the area needed. For me, Ntlaza, a lot of people come to me and advise what needs to come to Ntlaza. But living there, I have a total different view. It's a need that Ntlaza must come there, not a want.
Yes,
that's my view.
Certainly. It's a need.
People will say to me, "Kutheni ungavuli?" I don't want to name brands. Indatheni samhlambi nyama at 10:10. Whether it's your chicken leg in Kentucky, Doregon, whatever. And I always say to them, how many people will get employment there? What impact will that bring to the area? So for us, because we had a hospital next to us, and because in our everyday lives we need to have medical assistance and medical tondons and whatever, I then thought when this lady approached, because this lady, I remember, she visited me, I was doing something, I think we're digging a hole for a trench or something, and then she came to see me and said, Buti, ndikhalele uvula pharmacy apha. That again, now why so? What can one, because of the need, two, because also of how you are selling this place to us.
Yeah.
She had been bought by a friend of mine. Yeah, wacela itromi yami emkhaphi esithi wonqemba ngizamphoxa, you know. So my friend brought her and she was like, we want to open fast, but we want to club in with you. And she then said, but I'm looking for a space up. I then said to her, I don't have a space up, but I've got something better for you. What is it, Put? I took her. I said, I'm going to put you here. One, you'll be in a service station. Two, you'll be convenient for people who are passerbys. You'll be convenient for people who are going to the taxi rank. You'll also be convenient for people who are from the community. Because you'll probably be facing the taxi rank, which means you'll be limited to this clientele. Because what we also don't understand is when you start a business, other people buy your business because of convenience. Other people buy your business because of your need.
Yes.
Yeah, so you take yourself, if it was me, you know, it was that approach. So I then gave them the space within the garage, which they didn't expect and they were very happy with. And also I said to them, because we are going to have a venture, I needed to have you here because everything that has my name, you can take it takes years to build a name, seconds to destroy it.
Certainly.
Another lesson from my father. So we then thought, okay, here are differentiators. But before then, the pharmacy came through. We already had ATM facilities, which was a Nedbank, Absa, and Capitec, which were bringing a lot of old people, a lot of people coming with kids. You know, Mososa has got days where it's children, it's pensioners, it's disability, and all of that. So
there's a lot of traffic there.
So those people would be coming to my ATMs. And there was a lot of things that were happening. I mean, people would collapse. People would, but obviously the hospital is here, you know, and come on, these people are getting a grant, so they are obviously known at the hospital. But now, there's a pharmacy here. They can buy here, they can fall here, they can draw money here. So the pharmacy came in as a perfect differentiator. But then, I'm a franchise. So in a franchise, you don't just do. I needed to go back and sit with a franchising company to say, guys, I'm going to open a pharmacy. Is it befitting your brand? But again, remember I told you, so I went and sat down and said, no, remember, the building is mine. And this
You're not listing it.
Yes, I'm not listing it. And the building being mine, I can bring this differentiator to make sure that I put the community up front. Now, the man that had given me the opportunity, said, if it will benefit the community up and what you want, I don't see a problem. It doesn't disturb us. That is why on our 8th year, you were there, you were doing the interview, but you were doing the opening.
Yes.
And ECDC, who had funded me, was there because ECDC funded them as well. Which came as such a lovely story to tell, because my dad started his business funded by Ntlaza Development Corporation, then moved into Transkei TDC. Then Tukela, his son, starts a business through Eastern Cape Development Corporation. So what was beautiful is that when he started the garage, because my father had started the garage years ago, but it was those old garages, you know, you know. So at that time, what was also beautiful was that the pharmacy was going to be funded by same ECDC, who had now an experience of Ntlaza to say, we funded the garage. So we are going to help fund the differentiators. And I think that is why it was quite a beautiful union between us and the pharmacy and the pharmacists to establish the pharmacy. So that's how it came about.
And beyond that, Tukela, you brought employment to the people of Ntlaza, changing their livelihood. How is it going 14 years, 15 years later?
We brought employment. The opportunity gave me employment. When I talk to people, they like to identify me as the owner. Yes, I am the owner, but I'm an employee of the business because the business is an entity. So first and foremost, I got an opportunity of umsebenzi. Secondly, when we were developing, when we were building, the people around got umsebenzi into what was being done by the developers. So that was the first point of umsebenzi.
Yeah.
Secondly, we started operating. When we started operating, I started to give opportunities to abantwana obviously who are local, and my priority was we're not taking anyone that's from outside, but we're taking from Eslali, Zalapa. I then took it a step further to go to Chief Henry Proclain High School to say, every December, I want your top 2 students to come and work at my station. They work in my terms, and we're going to pay them a stipend. This stipend has got nothing to do with umama. It's got nothing to do with utata lomntana. It's got nothing to do with you, principal. It's got to do with us giving this child an opportunity. Now, I would sit with you as that child and say, kwesi stipend sokunika sona, siza kunika mhlambi imali enga, any percentage sokunika access to the internet. You are doing matric. Have you applied? We're helping kids. So there was a lot of things that were happening to also impact on those that were not even looking for employment. But as you would know, we started, a lot of kids, obviously from within Ntlaza, took the job opportunity, but bayithatha njengalando, which is normal, I won't go to work. So I experienced all of those things where then I started to widen my employment spread. I was from Port St. John's. So I'd go and find umntana Port St. John's. I'd go and find umntana Mduma Zulu. I'd go and find umntana Elbode. But in that model of employment again, with my small mind, I then thought, I am in a community.
Sure.
It's very difficult to control a community, because what was also difficult was the fact that if uKeith ndithe kuye ayikho lento yenzayo, yeka, go home. uKeith fika xela umamakhe, ndifike phaa kumntu othe umntanam uthi ugxothiwe. So I was experiencing all of those things, but we were now running it by yalapha emakhaya, which was also good, but at the same time it was bad, because any business needs to be ran like a business. It must have a structure. I then from there thought, I'm doing all of these community events and there's involving Nkosi. Ndaya kwinkosi. Sukela ngoNkosi, in terms of employment, njengoba inkosi zithela apha zidlula zibone zithini, we will then rotate. So, xa ndifuna employer, I don't look for employment. Ndiya kwaNkosi Jomisapho. Nesigqiba sakhe samakomiti bandiphe 2 kids. Ndiya kunkosi ubadibanise. Nesigqiba sakhe bandiphe. Ndiya kunkosi ugcine khaya ensimbini. So now I started a model where these kids, when they are given a job, baqale balungiswe yilali yabo. Uba Keith uzawunikwa umsebenzi uyile wa interviewer. Ungasiphoxi. So you are getting an opportunity. Make sure that you use it wisely. So it helped, because kunzima employer Keith. Kunzima. Once again, I was coming from there. So some of them were my age. Some of them were even older. I remember there was a gentleman that used to work for me. Xa kukhona into endingayithandanga yenzayo, umbona uba akamandelwanga ndiyamdelela, but then city, remember, these are things that when you come and employ in your area, will be a challenge to you. So it helped me get a lot of uvana nenkosi to even build a bigger. So currently there's 14 of us, including myself, including the DS towing truck driver. I'll get into that. So there's like 14 of us that are there on a permanent job.
Yes, you just ate my words when you mentioned the tow truck business, because I wanted to go into a space where you decided to diversify your business and develop your streams of income. What is it that came to you as an entrepreneur that says, let me not put Kentucky here, let me not do this, let me rather have a tow truck business?
My younger brother, umtshana wam, came to me the other day, and was sitting and was chatting. He's got trucks again. There's 8-ton trucks, once a sand, crushed stone, mines, and all of that. He planted a seed on me. He says to me, hey bhuti, ezi moto zishiywa apha kule parking yakho singabi nandawo paka, ithini into yazo? Ndithi ke mna le X5 umuntu wayigqabkelele ivili, nje ndimbonisa the video. Le Toyota kwathiwa yi-carburetor. Started to, because I knew the cars because they
Yeah.
were left there, but they were blocking our traffic.
Yeah.
I mean, our parking. And he said, yeah, Babesine tow truck would move them. Or Babesine storage. And I didn't take note of this. I didn't wire it. 2 years later, we were sitting at Tombo. No, not Tombo. Dangwane, yeah. We're sitting in Dangwane. We had a problem. One of our friends had a problem, tow truck. And the tow truck, for it to come from where it was coming from, it was going to cost him. So I think from there, then I landed, maybe. So then what did I do? Let's look into this.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not into the technical side of these things. So Umchana was keen and said, okay, but we can work on this. So we started to work on it. And today we're 3 years, we're 3 years into DS towing. Now, DS towing again came as a differentiator to the port. Because I knew I want to be in the motor industry, like this corner. But now there was a need for the service in the area. But now the need for the service in the area, one can say, Tukela being Tukela again, I said, if it has my name on it, we either do it right, we either preach it at this level, or we don't do it at all.
Yeah.
And then I said to him, let's look at a truck.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, go big or go home. Let's look at a truck, because then we then focus, because we needed to understand we had 3 types of market in class: the holiday maker, the local guy, and the scholar transport and the teachers. Because every day, if you go to Mtlaza, you will see the amount of cars that are parked there, of teachers that park and go to the various schools, get transport A1. So we had those 3 markets that we needed to service.
Yeah.
The holiday maker is obviously going to have whatever car, let's say a Porsche Cayenne. So now, when we looked at the industry was changing. The insurances were saying we want low beds. So that's how we then got into the truck business. And since then, it's helped a lot of people. And the garage, obviously, is always the most focal point for everyone to go.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And then comes the G Lounge, which I believe it is one of the highlights. Something when November strikes, you know that you put almost everything on hold and focus on the G Lounge. How did that concept come about?
I was invited to the Berlin November by my neighbor. Went to the Berlin November. I love to dress up.
Sure.
So my neighbor wanted to invite her. We went to the event the first year. It was nice. Got really excited. Saw the whole concept. Went the second year. And me being me, I remember I went to Lutando Bacha, who owns Berlin November, the founder, and said to him, hey, Chian, hey man, and Lutando Bacha's response was different from everyone I'd met in business.
Yeah.
His response was, Haibo, nyane kutin, funi beganin, dachi mna klonya kuzanza begin to end up. Innocently, Ulutando turns around and says, is our Italian Canal tent? We'll call it G Lounge. Yeah. Innocently. We have that conversation, I go. Ulutando then sends me an SMS in March the following year. I was sitting in a lento didn't know that's in the lounge. Do you have a logo? I and I. What do you have a company? I and I. And then we left it at that.
Yeah.
Then Tukela again goes back, sits in his corner, peruses through what you want to do and what you don't want to do. And I realized I had no I had no background in eventing. Yeah. Nothing. But the one thing that I knew that I wanted to do when I started the G Lounge, I'm a person that likes to host in my home and in our family home. So, for instance, in our family home in December, I'll cook, but I cook on one condition. Whatever happens on this day, I must control it. Landiti, you arrive at 10. I also figure when I'm quarter past 12, then I'm not going to do it. Yeah. Because that's family time. So I then sat and said, man, the Kaluyan's into hoster. this won't be difficult.
Yeah.
But I knew a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step.
Yeah.
I knew, or I heard from my old man that mtanam umlambo gcwala ngamathunzi. So whether I have 10 people that will come to my lounge, it will be a start. Then boom, after that, I wrote to Lutando, wrote a motivation. He asked for this information and that information. I did all of that. No sponsor, no nothing, no alignment, no client, no nothing. But I came from a sales background. I came from a family where kwakuthengiswa amagwinya.
Yeah.
I spoke to Sizwe Kupelo this morning, and I remembered he did an interview many years ago where they teased him and said, "Inhloko yakho is as big as amagwinya kwaMthembu." You know, and it used to be a joke, and they used to say it on radio. So abazali bami babathengisa amagwinya, but through thengisa amagwinya, they managed to acquire what now is a Caltex site.
Sure.
Through what?
Amagwinya.
So I was going to start Glendale Belly in November, Glendale Geelong, just like that. And that's how I started. So I did my first year in 2017.
Yeah.
2017, we did our first year. And our marquee was right there at the end. Right at the end. But the confidence I had, I remember on the day of the event, I wore a kilt on my first year. And when people were passing by my marquee, hey, Pilena, kuthiwa iGlounge, eyaphi? Hayi intsha, athi iyabonakala, empty yabantu. That time andisonke ndimanzi apha emnyango. Athi awugqiba athi umuntu yabantu, you andisayithanda inxile, can you take a picture? Did no, I only take pictures with the guests.
Sure.
That of this lounge, because abamazi lo muntu wale lounge. Even my aunt, uThokozile Sokhanyile, who was an ex-mayor Semthatha, wayedlula ehamba nabanye abantu in government. Ndithi mzala, hayi khawungena uthi uphehlelele into awuthuke naye, hayi bumzala intente. Ndithi ke mna ewe. So I was still trying to grab clients and doing, but because I came from a sales background, I knew that there was warm calling and cold calling.
Sure.
So you start with warm calling. My best warm calling was Caltex. We are clients, we work together. Obviously the banking industry. Obviously the friends and corporate space. Clientele, I'd been with you guys, and da-da-da-da, and da-da-da. So I brought the people that were in my everyday into that space. Those people came, believed in me, but they came the first year, and then the second year they didn't come. Because remember, Prakith, in sales, as much as you can get these clients and you convert them, you continue to seek new clients.
Yeah, certainly.
You continue to seek new grounds.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly.
So when we went in Kengoku, we then started to identify, I won't call them loopholes, the differentiators that were going to give iGlounge a stand within Berlin November. That time there was a lot of guys that were competing there. But I then said to the guys, guys, this is simple. Let me use me as Tukela there. What do you mean? Let's go fashion. Let's go opulence. Let's go a personal touch. Let's use everything that I have to sell this tent. And through that, every year would seek new clients, seek new clients. I'm happy to say to you, on the 29th of November, 2025, we are confirmed to be hosting our 7th edition.
G7.
Yes, G7. Growing from 60 clients. Growing from an opportunity of starting this tent. After the event, lost everything. Every pain we had put into it. Biggest mistake. Sat in my corner alone and I thought, uzawuthi uNandi benditshilo. Uzawuthi uKeith ucimba ungubani. But Tukela being Tukela, I told myself, I'm going to go back. I'm going to do it again. I'm not going to stop. And that's how now I can safely tell you that over the past 3 years, we've kept it at a 250-seater marquee, which is always sold out. Which is good for us. But then what made us stand there? It is the fact that we then went back to say, how were we going to play different amongst other players? We focused on the corporate. Remember, I started this conversation, I said to you, corporate helped me. Because corporate taught me discipline. Corporate taught me perseverance. Corporate taught me professionalism. So I started to write letters and bring in the corporates because we also wanted to introduce. I remember Caltex at some point, they would run competitions and then the winners would then be entertained at G Lounge. And now there was a benefit for Caltex because these people were competing for something that was obviously beneficial to the whole port of Caltex. But then now, Tukela being in the stable, they decided, well, let's support this guy and use that initiative. So we started to become more of a corporate marquee. Rather than a marquee where you are just going to say, okay, we're just throwing music and we are just watching horses. And corporate people, obviously, they have a program, they have a structure, they have this. So that's how G Lounge came out.
Wow. And G7, of course, it is loading. G7 is loading. Before we go to, we approach the podium, it will be unjust of me not to mention your soft spot.
Yes.
You've got a son.
Yes.
Mtombo.
Yes.
And of course, Tombo's arrival coincided with you starting the G Lounge.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about this little you?
You want me to tell you about umthombo wabaThembu?
Yes.
Umthombo wento ezinhle.
Unjengotata.
Umthombo womphefumulo wami.
Yeah.
Yes. That's how I call him. Because ndiye ndithi ungumthombo wabaThembu, ungumthombo wento ezinhle, ungumthombo wami. When he was born 7 years ago, he's turning 7 this year, and G Lounge is turning 7 this year.
Yes.
I remember I sat with his mom and I said, "Uyazi Bhelekas, with lo msebenzi endiwenzayo, being in business, Brakif, is not all glitz and glam. When you run a business, there's months when you don't get paid. When you run in business, there's months where it's duck.
I know.
And you're like, you know what? Mandiyeke lento, mandibhalele uboss wam, ndithi jana ndithi I beg to apply, ndaphinde ndathi tender my resignation, mandibhalele uboss, ndithi cancel both letters, take me back, you know.
Yeah.
And so I knew that raising a child, having a child, is going to be a challenge because it's going to be a lifetime commitment.
Yeah.
And through that, it was in that time of me going to Berlin, you know, visiting the Berlin, seeing the concert, and I took on the challenge. In May 2018, yes, in May 2018 on the 30th, my son was born. Now, 2018, the year before Mose Berlin, so 2018, we are now 1 year. He was born. I remember I went back home and I said, the reason I'm going to do this thing successfully is because one day this opportunity will help me raise my kids.
Yeah.
I remember the second year, Bhelekas used to work for the university as a fort. So I remember you must obviously invite your colleagues to come.
Yeah.
So she would go every year. And she used to joke and say, "Hi guys, I don't support that umdanam," you know, because And through that commitment, I then put all my energies into G Lounge. And through putting all my energy into G Lounge gave me what it gives me today. Not, when you say gave, they'll look at what you take out of it.
Yes.
No, it gave me a sense of direction. It gave me a sense of purpose. It gave me a sense of reason because obviously now I had to account to these people that come to my lounge. I had to account to these people that have invested in my lounge. But I had to account to me to say, I have Mtombo. He must look at me and say, utata tried, ufeyile but let me not just ndiyenze nje. So that is why then I put, like you said earlier on, that everything comes to a standstill around November to make sure that it becomes a success. So the G Lounge this year is turning 7. He is also turning 7 years old. And the beauty as well about it, Prakith, was that Berlin was obviously changing over the years. They started to involve kids. There was kids areas and all of those things. So there was more where now we're bringing in families, you know, we're bringing in all of those. So that's how I came into the G Lounge. And I'm very passionate about it. But then I can tell you, when I started, I didn't have an experience in the eventing space. I've got 6 years now experience. And in my 6 years experience, I now have relationships and associations with the likes of your well-seated, Mizana, Dandala, the likes of your Oli, the bar lady, all of these people that are big in the industry. Because these people that are big in the industry started to write to me as well. Because we were presenting what they do in their own corners.
Yes.
Where they were already and always looking for something or a plug to plug their own business into the area. Then in that, we got guys from Durban July, guys from Buyele Kaya, guys from that Dada, and all of those other events to then come and plug, because other guys will have a client like Keith Ngesi Radio. And they will then say, Keith Ngesi Radio, wherever there's an activity, you go with us. But now, Keith Ngesi Radio going with us, we need to make sure that we position with the right person and with the right brand. And so we were trying to build that brand, and that's how we built G Lounge. Being a brand that associates to the outer.
Yes.
Because now what are we doing? We're impacting the economy of East London. We're impacting the economy of the hotel. Because we hotel, we hire Shimoto, tourism. Yes, tourism. Yes, so a lot of things were happening. And now being the creative guy I was, G Lounge. We're associated with Mercedes-Benz. We borrowed G-Wagons from them, GLEs. So everything was all about, let's rhyme with the G, you know. So we was trying to look at the different things that we could plug into this. But Lando, G Lounge for me was that, let's get the out-of-towners to come into East London.
Wow. Then, Tux, we know what that the great teacher is life itself.
Yes.
And life is a mixture of happiness and sorrows.
Yes.
I think it was 2 years ago or so that Ntombo lost his mom.
His mom, yes.
Yeah, and then that in a way introduced a sort of change in you, because now you had to be, yes, you've always been that present father.
Yes.
But now you have to up the bar now.
Yes.
And so that this young man does not see that there is one parent down, even though it feels like that. How did Ntombo deal with the grief, and yourself for that matter? And how did that really, for a lack of a better word, adjust Anjani in that situation?
Look, when Mtombo's mom passed on, I was attending the, what do you call it, in Cape Town. It was on the 6th of January, the King's Plate.
Yeah.
I was attending the King's Plate. I remember my phone rang and I was doing an interview. I was competing for Best Dressed. You know me, I told you I like to dress.
Sure.
Number two, I was going there because I'm in this space.
Yeah.
So I needed to go and find and align. Answered the phone, boom. The funny part, yesterday, you had Laduma here, and the first person I met when I answered that phone and walked out was Laduma. The last time you saw me, Uti, I remember you had just received a very disturbing call. But fast forward, everything happened. But what touched me the most was that on the day of the burial at Oxford Street, all my associates were there. Starting with Caltex, they were there. Going to Olutando, they were there. Going to the DS team, they were there, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And that for me gave me Landiti abundance and where they can see what's going on.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate enough that the feeling that they had and the personality that they knew, it became easy for me to find ground in terms of balance. E.g., I went and sat with Caltex and I said to them, guys, this is it. Let's close shop. I'm done. And they looked at me, they said, you're not done. You are just going through the patch. What we're going to do for you, we'll work with you.
Yeah.
We'll work around this. We'll manage the site for you. This whole year, we want you to take time to focus on this. Okay? How so? No, we'll put in systems for you that can help you so that you are here. Now, through that, Kepra Keith, you can even say to yourself, he will not know. But I take myself, I remember all the things and the places we used to visit with my dad as a child. So it was very important for me to find a balance for my kids. It was very important for me to find a balance for myself. So in that first year, life became easy because I was associated and aligned with people that were is empathy the right word to use, that put themselves in my shoes, you know. So I started to try and find a balance there. But from an emotional point, obviously we seeked professional assistance and all of those. But the beauty came from the fact that I was involved. I was an involved father from day one.
Sure.
To a point that I remember the day the family said to my son, they were just kidding with him. They said, "Uzahamba namke?" What? I'm an otata. I'm an otata. And I think that summed up everything to say he knew that if umama ndimbona apha ecaleni, ngeke ndingamboni utata. So for me it was so easy. But what was difficult, ndiyithanda le nto ndiyenzayo. And ngoku ndiyapha ndithi close shop, I'm done. It was not me that was speaking. It was Ntlaza ebuhlungu. It was Ntlaza that was saying, I need to focus. I remember one guy said to me, let's sit down and find ways. So I tried to structure to a point that in that first year it was so difficult because he's got cricket. That time they say, Libode. Imoti pies and brother man said, Toby Winch. The message it cricket 2:30 tomorrow. But then Uti, I'll ask her mom's friend to go. But am I doing justice to him? No. So what would I do? Do what I need to do, rush to the meeting, attend the meeting, come out. Go back. But through that, I remembered that as a child, I went to Commercial Park. I remember we had a valedictory. I told my parents, valedictory in Ntlaza. Dada, what's that? Dada, Haiza. Remember, so I was to school, but I think that's standard 10, I think so. My parents came to the valedictory. Most quick ni Baptist. So umama mngena ngaba mama uvela uqomba ibhongo lakhe ngabantwana bakhe akakwazi ubamba. And kwi valedictory I think it was it's not the head boy, I was deputy. Then I was still in the council as well, so I needed to address
the audience there.
When I stood up, wakikizela umama because she was seeing her heartbeat standing on that podium. So when Mtombo was going through that change, I knew that everything that had to do with the school, because that is what would heal him. That is what would heal him. You know, just to give you something as a closing statement, yesterday was his mom's birthday.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yesterday was his mom's birthday.
14th.
And last year for his mom's birthday, we did cupcakes and I put photos. And I said to him, it's your mom's birthday. I know, Tata. Didn't know you don't know. Well, I forgot, Tata, but I'm going to say I know. That's okay, so you're going to have a good day at school. I dropped him off. When he came home yesterday, then I said, what do you want us to do for your mom's birthday? I want us to go away, the two of us. And it hit me that we are now slowly finding the balance. You know, because you don't find it. It takes, it's a journey, it's a lifetime journey. Because at every juncture, I've got triggers, you know. And so those associations I had, those alignments I had in business, in friendships, you, for instance, you covered the funeral, you know. You went there. I remember when I was doing my speech, and I could see man Caltex. I could see Mos Bananka. So you were all there. The people that have been part of that journey. So those things help to heal. Those things help to find a balance. Because in most times, people don't have the support structure. Sometimes support structure doesn't have to speak. They just need to sit here and say, that's all you need.
Silence.
Yes.
Wow. That's about it. But before that fat lady sings, let's approach the podium.
Hello, my name is Tukela Mtembu. I am from Ntlaza, ilali engapha kwase Libode. Today I just want to share something with everyone that's listening, because most of the time we meet people and we don't talk. And so I'm using this opportunity to inspire, motivate, and also encourage those that are out there that are listening. I am an entrepreneur. I have been in business for the past 14 years. It hasn't been an easy journey, but it hasn't also been a bad journey as well. A lot of lessons I've learned, a lot of lessons I'm yet to learn. But what I want to impart with everyone today is that sonke siyayazi mos uba a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. And that journey of 1,000 miles starting with one step, it's never going to be easy. And most of the time we are discouraged along the way because we meet or we share or we tell people that do not share the same dream. So today, in my parting shot, I want to say to you, if you are in business or if you want to go into business, start with you. Start with believing when that are going to do the business, what you want to do. Start to see it come to life. A lot of times when we want business and we share it with others, whom we expect them to say, yes, 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 it will work. The yes, 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 it will work must come from you. And number two, if you go and start a business, just like a ship goes on sea, smooth seas never made no great sailors. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be tough. In that tough, take the toughness of the challenges of everything and use them to fuel what you are doing. When we talk of cars, we say, imoto mos xa ihamba kuyatshisa phandle. Ithatha la moya ungaphandle ndithi iwufake ngaphakathi ndithi iwuguqule uthini iwenze umoya air conditioned. So take the challenges that you face, take the falls that you have, and use them as an example to your own self to say, you can fall, but you have to rise. I was raised by two parents whom taught me something. Because in this day and age, when your business is not going good, people come and laugh and share and joke. Because I think a lot of times people get scared of when things go wrong. When things go wrong, it's good for you sometimes. They say we are cracked. They say there's a crack so that light can go in. So those challenges that you are experiencing, those falls that you are scared of, suzoyika, because Tukela, I believe, and I was talking to a friend yesterday and saying, all the people I know that have never done the business I do, they will advise me of my business. So don't let someone that has never been in those shoes to guide you or tell you what to do. If you fall, rise. And if you fall again, rise again. Because at the end of the day, you are going to fall. But what's important is for you to rise. So keep doing the thing that you're doing. Keep pushing what you're pushing. If you want to see opportunities happening, you must make them happen. No one else will. I'm from Ntlaza. I'm a rural guy. And the nice part is that I've never hidden that. But I'm a rural guy who dreams in color. I'm a rural guy who believes in his dreams. I'm a rural guy who has been torn, tarnished, beaten. Everything has happened to me. But all of those things have made me to be the colorful guy that's standing in front of you today. I thank you.
That's all the time we have for today's episode of Insightful Journeys. I want to thank Tukela Mtembu for sharing his inspiring story with us. Your resilience, determination, and commitment to community are a testament to the power of the human spirit. To our listeners and viewers, thank you for tuning in and being part of this journey. Tukela's story is a reminder that we all have the ability to make a positive impact in our communities, no matter where we come from or what challenges we face. If you'd like to learn more about Tukela's business or connect with him, please visit our show notes for more information. Join us next time on Insightful Journeys, where we'll explore more remarkable stories of overcoming adversity and achieving success. Until then, stay inspired, stay informed, and keep shining your light.